Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council this January 13th, 2026. We're beginning our meeting at 4:30 p.m. in the multi-purpose room of West Valley City Hall. We have all members of the council present. Councilmember Hune, Councilmember Norfelt, Councilmember Wood, Councilmember Whetstone, Councilmember Herman, Councilmember Christensen, myself. We're also joined at the table with our city manager, Mr. Peely, and our city recorder, Ms. Kamick. Our first order of business is the minutes from December 9th, 2025. Turn those to the council for discussion or a motion.
Move to approve those minutes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll have our review of our regular meeting tonight, and then our RDA and our BA, Building Authority. So, Nicole, is there any changes?
So there's been no changes to the regular meeting. We've added the RDA and Building Authority meeting. It just has minutes and the appointment of the new chairs and vice chairs. It's just the annual meeting that we have every January.
Okay.
But that's it. That's
it. Okay. Did anybody have any questions on any of those three meetings?
Can you send us out the new assignments? Or did you and I?
it's attached to that.
Okay. Yeah. At the bottom of the agenda. Yeah.
Should be in there. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll go to our ordinances, begin with 26-01, and we'll turn the time over to Mr. Spurmeyer.
Good evening, afternoon, Mayor and Council. Welcome back. This is a simple procedural thing that the county's requiring of us. Small right-of-way parcel in the Fairborn CRA, we have vacated. It is being absorbed into one of the lots adjacent to it, which is within the boundaries of the CRA. The right-of-way was not. Since it is now one property, it has to all be in or all be out. So we are moving all of it into the project area. This is something that has to be done by both council and by the agency. And not next week, 2 weeks from now at the next, procedurally, the agency has to handle this first. So that meeting will go first on the agenda. That'll be the first meeting up in 2 weeks. But this is just a county procedural issue. Any questions?
Nope, it was just very confusing when reading the notes. So.
You should see the string of emails I've got. You want to? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll now address 26-02 and turn the time over to Ms. Young.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jamie Young, Parks and Recreation Director, and I also have Clark Garso here, our golf pro, to answer any questions that I can't answer, because if you have specific questions, I'll have to refer to Clark on some of these. So as our Parks and Recreation fees that are in the city code need to be approved by City Council, I have some changes to those to seek approval from you today. So some of specifically the rates that we changed were the golf rates for the player pass holders, the daily rates, and the tournament rates to kind of stay in the same. If we're raising some, we certainly need to raise the others as well. So the golf, in 2025 and prior, the rate for golf was a little bit low, and that was kind of a administrative push to have our golf be affordable. And so with a little bit of a difference now in wanting to capitalize on the demand for golf, we have looked at what people are charging similar golf courses, and we believe that we can get our golf rate up to $75 for 18 with a cart. Previously it was $56, and so that's a pretty good jump. But again, with the demand of golf and probably the biggest complaint that we get at our golf courses is that people can't get a tee time. We feel like it's a really good time to change the rates. So that's really the big one for player pass rates, with the understanding that we would have a little bit of dynamic pricing on the cusp seasons, so that people aren't paying $75 to golf in April, but they would during the peak season pay that peak rate, and have those rates be a little bit flexible on the cusp seasons to try to get our tee sheets to be full. Are there any questions specific on that? So the next is the player pass.
I have my question.
Yes.
I have one question. Based on the revenue we had last time, $56, and now if we jump up to $75, and how much we gonna get out of that?
We anticipate between $300,000 and $400,000 a golf course between the player pass changes and the $75 rate. We're 80,000 rounds, about 80,000 rounds of golf, fewer at the Ridge, being only that it's 18 holes. Yeah. So we anticipate a pretty good jump in revenue based on these changes.
But probably still not enough to cover all the maintenance that needs to be done.
Not all the capital, but it'll build up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we expect, is that we can build that up to be able to do some of the capital things that need to be done.
Okay, because that was my main concern of wanting to raise the rates, is to be able to have them more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And not be drawing from the general
General
fund
fund.
to do their maintenance.
And we anticipate that will be the case. There will be a little bit of additional cost for staffing and a few things, but the majority of it would be to set aside to have for capital improvements.
Okay.
So the next is the tournament rate, which is a little bit more than the regular rate, because we have additional services that we provide for scoring and things and gratuities, and we also kick in a little bit of pro shop credit for the golf tournament to distribute as prizes, and so that rate went up to $85, and then we added an all-inclusive tournament. One of the things that we find is, I think the average that people are paying when they host a tournament at our courses is around $100 a player. But a lot of times when they have sponsors, the sponsors bring drinks and the sponsors bring snacks, and so we kind of miss out on that opportunity for revenue from the drink carts and gratuities for the staff that are working. And so the all-inclusive tournament rate would be the golf and the carts and the merchandise that they would get with the $85 rate, but then also the lunch. They would have options that they could choose from, and they could certainly upgrade it if they wanted a higher dollar cost for lunch, and then it would include a couple of drinks for each golfer and the gratuities for the drink cart staff. So it's kind of just again another way to just increase the quality of tournaments that we provide, and we again have a huge number of tournaments, and so it'll be a way to capitalize on the demand for that as well. And the final is the player pass rate. And I know that there was a little bit of concern about having it at all and having a discounted golf rate. But one of the things that we've talked a lot about is those are our most loyal golfers, and they really fill the tee sheets. And so what we have proposed is that we keep the pass, and we allow people, the rates have gone up, the rates to actually play have, in the past, they were $20 on weekdays and $35 on weekends, and we've increased those pretty significantly to be $35 on weekends and $35 on weekdays and 50 on weekends and holidays. And we just feel like that's a very loyal group, and by having a pass, they play our courses more, which is really what we want, to be able to continue to keep the tee sheets full and keep the revenue where it ought to be. So, and then that kind of is a little bit flexible based on if they walk, it's a little bit less. It's not actually, the golf pass rate does not give a discount for walking, but the walking rate, of course, were increased as the others were as well, taking the cart fee off. So we're seeking approval of these fees as it's in city code, and I'm happy to have any discussion with you about questions that you have about that, or
I think in the past, we've limited the number of player passes.
we have.
Are we still gonna limit that, or is it?
So we kind of anticipate that there will be fewer sold because of the increase in the rate to play. We capped it at 1,500. In the past, it was 2,000, and we reduced it just last year to 1,500. And there were some people that were pretty frustrated that they didn't get one. But we think we'll sell close to that 1,500. Maybe a little bit fewer, but again, we'll certainly make that up in the rate that we're charging. The other thing that I failed to mention is, I know that there's been a desire to have there be a good opportunity for residents to have a discount too. So kind of how we rolled the residents in, and hopefully you'll be excited about this as well, is that the residents get that rate. They get that rate without having to pay the $300 pass fee. So residents will get a pretty good rate. And as if there are as few as we anticipate, that'll be a really good benefit for the residents to play at our courses.
Do they just have to show a driver's license?
Yep, they'll have to show some kind of ID. We'll have to determine what those will be, but probably a driver's license, and we'll make everybody do it. So I don't go in and say, here, I live in West Valley, I'm paying for the foursome. Everybody who's going to get the discount will need to show ID. Yep.
And on those player passes, is it just on a first come basis?
It is. And we've been getting a lot of questions. We typically start selling them in December. So, once this is approved, we'll get it out that we'll probably start selling them the weekend before we will reopen for golf on February 1st, weather pending. And so we would sell them probably starting that weekend. And they've always sold out the first day or two at the most. And I would anticipate that would be the same. Potentially a few would trickle into the next week, but it'll depend on if people still think it's a great value. And I think a lot of people will, because they have been playing regularly at our golf courses anyway, and they want that kind of piece of the exclusivity of the pass rate.
Anything to add, Clark?
Questions?
Feel good about it?
Yeah, I think we'll have some. Raising general rates is overdue. The pass rates could be a challenge for some. Jenny said we may sell less, but hopefully we'll make it.
And I appreciate all the work that Clark and all the golf staff did to do research and talk to all the staff and a lot of our regulars to kind of get a feel for it and to see where we're at as far as our competitors for golf, other local golf courses. And, we really compare ourselves to the best because we really think that we are the best golf courses, public golf courses that are here on the Wasatch Front. So we priced ourselves at that rate.
Well, and I know you have people in Utah County that have the date the passes go on sale marked in their calendars, so they call and get them on that date.
They do.
So they're coming from Utah County to golf here
They are.
on the player pass. So
Yep.
It's a good course. If it's
They're great.
driving too.
Yep. All over Tooele County.
Yeah.
Yep. All over Salt Lake County, Davis, and Utah County primarily. Yeah.
So I'm Golf for Dummies here. Do we just have one pro for both courses, or is he just Stonebridge?
Well, we currently have one pro for golf courses, for both golf courses. We're in the process of hiring a second. Brian resigned back in August, and with the uncertainty of the Ridge, we held off on hiring a second pro until we knew what we were doing. So we're in the process of hiring a second pro now, but Clark's been filling that role for several months. We appreciate him.
Okay, I don't see any other questions,
Okay.
but you probably want to stay up there.
Oh, yes.
So we'll go to our resolutions 26-01, and we'll turn the time over to Ms. Young for that one.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, this is an extension of an interlocal agreement with Salt Lake County Aging Services. They provide some services for our senior center. They provide transportation for people. They pick them up at their home and bring them to the center and take them home afterwards, and they pay for that service and the vehicle and the staff person for that. And they also provide the lunches at our facility, and they deliver those daily. We request our number, and they deliver those. And then they give a stipend to help offset the cost of providing those meals, the napkins and cups and all the things that we have to provide. And I think it's about $18,000 a year. So the nice thing with this is it seems like the last few years, it's been every year that we've had to renew this. So I was happy to see that this was a multi-year deal so that you don't have to hear about this same agreement maybe for a couple more years. So this is accepting the $18,000 and then the services that they provide for the Senior Recreation Center.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we'll move along to resolution 26-02 and turn the time over to Mr. Flores.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm filling in for Mel Bennett. She is out this week, so I told her don't worry about it. I'll come up and take care of it. So we've been in discussions with Taylorsville for the past 6 to 9 months on the agreement and the service provided, and I believe it's been since 2012. There may have been a small update in between then, but they are currently paying $320,000 a year, and just due to the natural increase of costs and what's provided, we've been having some discussions on increasing that. So they've agreed to increase that to $450,000, and that amended agreement will be voted on in a couple weeks. Any questions?
Is that annual or
Yes, that was an annual amount,
so they were paying 20,000? Oh,
320,000.
320. Okay, I'm like, oh, I just heard the 20. Okay.
It was a win, but not that big of a win.
That's still pretty good increase.
Yeah.
I did have a question on the rebate, the percentage if they, how is that looked at? Is it call for services or?
So we'll do an evaluation at the end of every year just to determine, and we break down everything. So it is officers assigned to those areas. It's the number of licenses for them. It's the number of permits. It's the number of responses, call outs, overtime. I mean, it's which is how we determined the $450,000 to be an adequate annual amount. So we'll just evaluate that at the end of the year and determine where that service level and cost fell and make an adjustment as needed.
Was the rebate offered with the prior agreement or is it
It
just?
wasn't, and we probably got the short end of that.
Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go to 26-03. We'll turn the time over to Ms. Urkula.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Jenny Urkula with the IT Division. This resolution is to authorize the interlocal agreement with Salt Lake County to access and use aerial photography. It's at a really inexpensive rate by partnering with the county, nearly 36 square miles at $130 per square mile, less than $5,000 for very high accuracy aerial photography that we use in the software that we use for mapping and all sorts of different uses. And also we have access to web services for this imagery and the electronic copy as well. Any questions?
It's pretty routine yearly, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, resolution 26-04. We'll turn the time over to Chief Jacobs.
Good afternoon. I am before you again with a new agreement, but it's really just an amendment to a agreement I brought to you in August. And it's for what we affectionately call JREPs. It's the Jordan River Extra Patrols. And it's used to be the Department of Natural Resources, but now it's the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and Lands. So the change to the agreement is what we agreed to in August was a 5-year agreement. And this one is for a 1-year agreement that will terminate June 30th of this year. They're not confident about their funding moving forward, so they want to do it year by year as opposed to a 5-year commitment. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay,
thank you.
That was easy. Okay, we'll go to resolution 26-05. Turn the time over to Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, Dan Johnson, Public Works. This is an amendment to an existing agreement that we have with UDOT. So on 3575 South at Mountain View Corridor, there is an existing park and ride that was built with the Mountain View Corridor. The original, so it's a trail park and ride. So you park there and go ride your bike or run or whatever. And there's and so that we've already agreed to maintain all of the facilities associated with the trail system, and we have other park and rides throughout the city. But this particular one was excluded from the original. It was just omitted from the original cooperative agreement with UDOT, and so they're adding it because they would like to give us the land, and so they're adding it to they're amending the cooperative agreement to agree for, and we will agree to accept ownership of the property. And we already have maintenance responsibilities, so there's not much that will change that way.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to our consent agenda. And this is one of the typical right-of-way purchase agreements and acceptance of a deed. Does the council have any questions on this one, or it's a pretty routine one? I don't see any. And then the next question is, would the council like to add any or all of the 2 ordinances and the 5 resolutions to the consent agenda for the January 27th, 2026 meeting?
I'd say all. It's gonna make it a short meeting.
There's worse things.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that objects to all? Okay, we will move on with it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, our new order of business is on the 27th. We'll have the election for a mayor pro tem for a 2-year term. If there's any questions, gives you some time to think about it. No questions. Okay. If so, I was going to give it to Nicole. All right. We will now go to a review of the agenda for the special development agency meeting tonight, or no, on the 27th. And so that night, are we going to have this meeting first and then our regular meeting?
Yes, so the
Okay.
only item on that agenda is the other side of that Fairborn Station CRA. And procedurally, we just have to have the RDA meeting go first.
Okay.
So it'll be a little bit backward on the 27th.
So does anybody have questions that they need Mr. Springmeyer to come up and answer in regard to that? Okay. We good on that one then? And we'll go to our communications, and we'll turn the time over to Mr. Sam Johnson for our pre-legislative session update.
Mayor,
Oh, yes.
we are actually awaiting Cameron Deal. He's going to be
Okay.
coming. He's coming from, I think it's Austin, Orem. He's coming
Orem,
from
okay.
Orem. He's en route.
Okay.
But we were just wondering if we could maybe go to the next item and then we'll come back to this one if that's
Sure.
okay with the council.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Springmeyer. Land planning update for the property located at 1300 West and 3300 South.
Good afternoon. This is what we believe will be the final presentation. We've been working on this for a few meetings now on what we want to see with that property. So I'm going to turn it over to our consultants and let them show you what we've come up with.
Okay.
Thanks for having us back. Nathan's going to take the first few slides and I'll do the last few.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today it's going to be a very brief presentation, 10 minutes. So we'll go over the sub-districts. There are 4 sub-districts with brief overviews of each. We'll talk about the development plan and overview that. And then we'll talk about highlights of the phasing strategy and why we approached it the way we did. So key themes from the overall plan is it emphasizes walkability throughout the entire district. So through the north, central, east, and west districts, it incorporates sidewalks, internal paths that orient inward, away from the roads, and shared street environments across all 4 districts. Green space is integrated through small pocket parks of varying sizes. We were mindful of the fact that there is a lot of green space also on the periphery. So we had had a nice balance of both. We are delivering on the demand for varied housing types. So there's multifamily, single family attached, single family detached, and we'll go through that through the plan. And then there's also activated strategic commercial sites along 33rd, incorporating the feedback that we heard during our last visit. For the central subdistrict, that is right along 33rd here, right next to the utility easement. There is a new planned road on the eastern side, as you can see here. So in this rendering on the right-hand side, the site plan that is facing north, just to help you orient yourself. And there's also a key map as well to show you the orientation of each rendering. So some key takeaways from this development that's shown here is it has about 200 units in the multifamily building, varying 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. It has limited targeted commercial on the ground floor, primarily along 33rd. Really high visibility, oriented to a shared space. There are 3 retail spaces and 2 restaurant spaces in that. There's also common area space along the ground floor, as well as residential units on the west and north sides. There's a space for an amenity deck up on the top of the parking garage, and then ground floor shared amenity space as well.
What I would take the opportunity to say here is this segment of it really does kind of cap out the market potential for your retail on this site. So you're going to see some retail in other areas, and it's built up in a phased way, and we'll talk about the phases at the end. But I just kind of want to put that bug in your ear again. As far as the East District, this would be your other commercial area. We're going to talk about it later in phasing, but what you're going to see here is, as was requested, more of the traditional drive up, more traditional retail as you see in West Valley City. There's ample parking to support these buildings. There's about 6,500 square feet, 3,250 per building. I know those aren't big buildings, but once we try to factor in some parking, it's also not a big site. So we tried to balance that out as much as we could. We kept them as more of a drive-up oriented with a rear entrance for a restaurant or some kind of facility there. The West District, when we talk about the West District, this is where we're really envisioning more of a owner-occupied product, and this would be one phase of development, more or less. This is everything that's west of the power lines. I know it seems like a lot of houses in that little area, but it's more area in there than you really think it is. What we have is we have a mixture of townhomes, twin homes and large twin homes and small twin homes. When we say twin homes, those are a purchased product that has 2 adjoined houses, 1 shared. My parents always called it party walls, but I don't think that's the proper term for it. But 1 shared wall in the middle. There are, for townhomes, 15 total units. They're usually built in 4, 5, or 8 units per building, with obviously the ends being the most desirable. We went with 5 because it kind of fit the layout of the site. They are all oriented towards a recreational amenity wherever possible. So you'll see that there's a rear entrance driveway that comes off the road, but the sidewalk in the front of the building actually faces the pedestrian or the power line corridor. While we're not saying it's a recreational area, what kids choose to do in that area is what they're going to do. You can tell them no, and they're just going to do it more. So you'll see a lot of things in there that are orienting it even towards the Veterans Memorial, taking advantage of those views and those areas and making sure there's enough green space. There's 4 large twin homes, and then there's 6 structures or 12 total units of small twin homes. We tried to get as much as we could in there, but kept the turning radiuses, kept the size of the roads, kept everything the way they were set to be by city standards. There are no private roads here. Everything's a public-sized road, and the driveways meet the current standard setup. The North District is very similar, but we went with a 6-pack, so 6 townhomes per. And these ones majority of them are very similar to the other ones, but they're a little bit larger of a townhome. Where the other ones were 18 to 2,000 square feet, these are more like 3,000 square foot townhomes. If anybody's been in what they call an 1,800 square foot townhome, they feel very small because somehow developers get away with considering a 500 square foot garage part of the house. Not quite certain how they do that, but they do. So These are really more of what you would think of a livable family for sale product townhome. We have 7 sets of them. We try to keep them all at 6, but unfortunately we couldn't do all 6 packs. Sometimes the lot would only allow 2s and 3s. So we try to make them fit around it as best as we could. And then the phasing map. Phase 1, short-term phase, would be the green. And that would be really to a developer. The reason these are split up the way they are is there's different types of developers out there. There's typically a multifamily residential developer, so they'll build up to duplexes, townhomes. Then there's a mixed-use building developer, which is traditionally a multifamily, multi-unit podium-style construction. So concrete first floor, sticks above that. And then there's typically a standalone developer who builds more retail, standalone strip mall type development. So you'll see phase 1 is really residential, wrapping around. Phase 2 is the mixed-use building, and long-term is phase 3. The note about long-term for phase 3 is if it doesn't happen, or if the market ends up not being able to support it, it is still sized to almost be able to copy what is the central district onto the eastern site if something cannot happen there with retail. It's kind of a preservation effort to see what the market will support, and if it doesn't support it, you can move and copy a similar type of building across the way.
And I do see that when exporting, the characters didn't transfer over. So these weren't just boxes. They were notes on the years associated with each phase.
As everybody knows, if you started tomorrow, you'd still be 2 or 3 years away from phase 1. That's just the way development works. I think that's
So
it.
With that, we'll take questions.
Hey, any questions?
I did have a question on the west. Is that, and it's hard to try to envision the buffer between that Veterans Memorial, but this, like, how much space are we talking from the single family backyard to the memorial?
So from, and can you guys see the cursor on the screen? I don't have eyes in the back of my head. So this kind of walking path around, the closest was 25 foot to the edge of the property line, because that was your setback. So we stayed within those confinements. We saw the Veterans Memorial as a opportunity for helping preserve a little bit of green space in there. And I mean, people do, they may not like being next to a Veterans Memorial due to traffic, but they do like the lack of housing that would be behind them, is what I would say.
For a frame of reference, if memory serves me right, the right of way for the public road is 55 feet. And so that's can kind of be used as a scale.
So if you, not that it's perfect, but you're probably 60, 70 feet from the property line to the back of the building. And we can get an exact measurement if you want.
Because that home's property ends at the path, and then the path is 25 feet to the property line?
Correct.
And how much between the house and the path?
It varies because it's not a square lot.
So the closest one to the property line?
Closest one would from the path to the building or from the building to the edge?
You said from the path to the edge is 25, so from the
Yeah.
path to the house.
So I would say the shortest is 25. And that would be from corner to the path. And what I'd give you is that it all really depends on which way the developer angles the building and which way the lots are split and how that all transpires. If they want to angle the building slightly or orient it different, you could require them to have more space. You could do all kinds of stuff.
This maximized the number of units while still having public roads.
Yeah.
And so there's some of that is strategized around that.
What's the total number of housing units?
I shouldn't have that off the top of my head, but I don't know.
The multifamily building is 200. This one is 35, and the north is 24.
So you're 255.
260, yeah, something like that.
And that's a variety of units. So that's a multifamily product and a single family attached product as well.
And then for clarification, the square footage that you've got there is per unit.
Correct.
So 7 sets, townhomes, 24 units.
And each unit is 3,229 square feet. That, just so you're aware, that includes the garage. So realistically, it's a 2,400, 2,500 square foot town of livable, occupiable space. Anybody else?
I don't see any other questions. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
This is. Okay.
Okay. Council calendar. Anyone have any questions on that one? No questions? Okay, potential future agenda items. Yes.
I don't know if it needs to be an agenda item or not, but we had a presentation during the public comment period 2 or 3 meetings ago from a young lady, I think she was a 6th grader.
Oh.
And she made her presentation and then she said, oh, by the way, how come we as voters only get 3 minutes and you sitting up there get as long as you want? And you know, I thought when we made the 3-minute limit, we agreed that it would apply to everybody. So I think we need to either rediscuss it or just redecide that it's going to apply to everybody. And you know, I kind of had to agree with her. I don't know why. I can't talk more than 3 minutes without a script in front of me. So I don't know if we need an agenda item for it or if we could just agree here, agreement, we'll follow the rules, same as everybody else.
So would you suggest the timer start
Mhm.
if a council member begins with comments after the comment period?
Because that for the
Yeah.
council is still part of that comment period.
That's true. And we limit it to
We-
30 minutes for the public, so we
allow
should be
30
going,
minutes for the public. So
yeah, so we shouldn't be going past that.
Past the 30 minutes?
No, past the 3 minute, I mean, because we've already given 30 minutes possibly, and if each of us took 10 minutes, would be another, and if we're each 3 minutes, that would be under 20 minutes-ish.
What's been your experience in other cities?
I've never seen council members have limits in my career. I think the answer I would give to the little girl would be, this is our representative democracy, right? This is the people that your parents have elected to speak on behalf of the people. So this meeting, that's why it is different. Because legally, you don't have to have public comment anyway, right? I mean, you actually don't have to give the 3 minutes to the public. But we do
It's
that,
just a courtesy.
and most people do that, but this meeting belongs to the council. Even as city manager, again, I've indulged it sometimes, but I have a point. I've told you guys, I don't speak unless I'm spoken to most of the time. Because I've been taught this is your meeting. This is the time you get to speak. But yeah, that would be my opinion, just from my experience.
I try not to be long-winded, but I wouldn't want to limit any of us from sharing views of from their elected position.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I understand. But then when we are elected officials, so if we need 5 minutes, why shouldn't we get 5 minutes?
Or 10.
Or 10, yeah.
Hopefully we don't, but
I was gonna say.
you never know.
I would have loved that rule in some of my.
Limit the comment period.
Yeah, limit some of your counsel.
So I'm kind of getting, just leave it as is.
I think we should leave it as is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I have something I'd like to bring to the council. And this has been talked about before. It was talked about before I was ever on the council. And it has to do with the development agreement of Weston Fields. Jake Fitzmanu, former council member Fitzmanu, was approached about this development agreement. When his term ended, he asked that, it be continued, and me as an uneducated council member brought it totally unprepared, saying, hey, should we talk about this? So we didn't really talk about it. People didn't want to talk about it. But good or bad, I've gone to some training with the ULCT, and one recently was on conflict resolution, on conflict competence, and how we as a council, elected officials, sometimes have to deal with conflict. That we don't all agree, we don't agree with, or we might agree, that type of thing. But the question is why? Why don't we want to talk about things that we might have a conflict with? So I'm prefacing that, my discussion with that is why? Why don't we want to address this? And hopefully tonight we can come up with an answer to our why we don't want to or why we do want to. So that's where I'm coming from. So I know this is a touchy subject, and when a buyer purchases a property, like the builder did on this property, it comes with that existing development agreement. And they should be fully aware of what's in that development agreement when they buy the property. I totally agree with that. But, the world changes, and that property was bought in 2021. Well, the development agreement was signed in 2021. Of course, 2020, we all know what happened. We were still recovering 2021, 2022. Housing had still not gone off the rails. It was still somewhat affordable, if we want to call it affordable. I'd like to change it to attainable. But what's since happened is our interest rates have stayed high, our products have gone high, sky high, and homes are getting just crazily priced. I know the average home in West Valley is about $460,000, which is still more than a lot of people can afford to buy. So when I talked about it just shortly after I got on the council, I just said we should talk about this. So there were three things that this builder had brought to me and to other people, possibly to Jake, about things that they'd like some consideration on. And I'm just presenting them. I'm not ready to tell you where I stand, but I'm just presenting them. So it's kind of a communication. The first thing was the square footage of homes. The thing about this development agreement that I found interesting is it does not require basements. And I was on planning commission when this was done, and I don't remember that. And I think that is so odd that we don't require a basement. And the square footage is tied to that. With a basement, it's X amount. Without a basement, you have to provide more above ground square footage. So that's one thing. The next thing is the garage size. And, I think you know how I feel because I've stated it before, but not everybody wants a 3-car garage. And it adds costs. My daughter, when she built her home in West Jordan, they had to pay, $40,000 extra for their 3rd-car garage. Well, that's a choice they made. They had that choice. The neighbor didn't make that choice. So that's another thing is it says a 3-car garage. However, in the development agreement, it does allow for 2-car garages depending on the side yard setbacks or the way the garage is loaded, whether it's side loaded. And that's in the development agreement. So some lots in that subdivision could have 2-car garages. But maybe that's something, again, to give an additional incentive to move these houses along, is that if someone doesn't want a 3-car, do we give them that option? And then the last requirement is for the exterior material. When this development agreement was signed, our ordinance was 25% of the exterior material should be of stone or brick. Shortly after this development agreement was signed, I double checked all this with Steve Pastrick. There was a House bill that came through that we had to eliminate that from our ordinance. So our ordinance currently does not have that verbiage, although we have approved We have development agreements that have been approved since then that still require that. The thing that was concerning to this home builder was that they don't want to be required to have the stone and brick on the side or the back. Well, they're not required to. They just have to meet that 25% requirement on the exterior. So those are the three things. And I feel like rather than just saying no, 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 I'd like to have a little discussion, kind of see how we feel, get a feel going forward if this comes up again. It came up last month on the subdivision on 60th, where they wanted to come in and amend it, and we said no. So I'm just bringing that to you. I'd like some input on how you feel, if you feel like this is something we want to try and work with now or in the future. As I talk to some of you, maybe we need to figure out a way to handle development agreements with properties, because they're usually when the property's rezoned, is that right? So a property's rezoned, it sits empty for X amount, and then 5 years, 6 years later, someone comes in and buys it and they're bound to that development agreement. So is there some point in time where maybe we say, okay, it didn't get developed within 5 years, it's going to revert back to its original zoning, that type of thing. So I think those are some things that maybe we want to think about. I don't know. Thoughts, questions?
I do appreciate that the council members bringing it to us to consider, and I think that makes sense, and then we can decide if we want to put it on the agenda. So thanks. I think I agree with, and Lars hasn't even said anything, but I agree with Lars. No, but
I'm glad it's working.
I think I know that in general and in practice, we shouldn't amend development agreements. And I think that's how Lars feels. And then to add on to that, okay, if we ever did, it would have to be for benefit of the city. And why, ask ourselves, why would we do this? There's no real benefit to the city. So that's my low bar to even consider, is what's the benefit to the city? Well, there's really not one, other than the builder says he can sell more houses quicker. Well, that's not a benefit for me.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I failed to mention is, we all have consternation over exterior entrances, because that's implying it's going to be rental. So perhaps a trade-off for the city would be if we allow the 2-car garage, we say no basement entrance. There's some trade-off things there. So anyway, that was something that I forgot to mention there. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Well, I think we just put this one on agenda, and so we can go in depth for this for next time. Like if you guys agree with this, and I give the owner of this developer, and if he can have a chance to come up here and speak for himself too. See how we do. Just like all you says, try to do our best for the city, and let's put it on agenda and try to find out about that. Yeah.
I think the time to negotiate a development agreement is when we have the zone change. And we worked on that, and I don't think we should have to negotiate again and again and again every time the owner or the new owner decides that's really not working for them. It's tough. I'm concerned about affordability, attainability of properties, and that's a crazy thing right now. But I don't think West Valley should bear the burden of that, and we still have some people that want bigger nicer homes, and we don't have a lot of that to offer in West Valley. If people really want smaller garage, there's places they can buy that are already built in West Valley. So I don't think we should put it on the agenda.
Well, you mentioned about the city users, the people, they have an option, they want to do something here and there, to give them some option. So look at the Cindy just says about the option right here, like 3 bars and 2 bars, also the option for the buyer, they can make decision about that. And also in the agreement, we agree with them, 2-car garage too.
What I was saying is that 3-car garages are not an option very much in our city. And if we say, no, you don't need to do 3-car garages, then we're reducing that as an option.
I understand what you're saying, but I know it's nice to encourage people to do 3-car garage, but also there's people out there, they cannot afford to do that. They want to go 2-car garage.
Yeah, and with that, a discussion we could have is how many are we willing to allow 2-car garages? Now, is it 10% of the lots? So that would be a discussion item as well.
Well, and for me, that would have been a discussion item in the development agreement to begin with.
Yeah, and I don't know that that was a discussion back then. I think we were just told as a planning commission 3-car garages. I don't remember the 3-car, 2-car discussion.
Yeah,
At that
for me-
time, I was like, yeah, but I was looking at it differently.
Yeah, and for myself, I don't want to start this practice.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, if you sell a project, it goes back to original zoning and you have to start over. There's no entitling a project and then selling it off. Because it seems that the instances that happens, people come back and ask for new development agreements. So when you're buying one, you need to look at it, make sure you can do it. And it's just good business sense to make sure you can afford to do what you want. The economy changing, I don't think changes the overall plan the council had for the vision of the city. We still have that vision. If it takes 10 more years to get there, houses are forever. They're not going to come in and scrape them in 10 years and say, okay, now we're going to build the bigger ones because the economy will bear it. I'd rather have vacant property that's built out properly and it's going to last our next 100 years instead of compromise just for a situation of 2008-9 or the pandemic or any of the other situations we've had. Because we just have those things go through our economy and we just have to be able to prepare for those. So I really don't want to start the precedence of renegotiating development agreements. And unless we could have something else happen, and I'm pretty sure we cannot take them back to original and make them go through the whole zoning process again. Because the one thing, bringing this back to the council every time and asking a different council member every time, then that council member takes staff time and the developer's not paying for that staff time as if they put in an application. And so we're wasting staff time on these things that should just not be something we start.
Well, to address that, the staff time's been limited. I haven't really used much staff time.
Well, even, one or two phone
still,
calls each time.
But as an elected official,
Yeah.
if someone reaches out to me, I need to do the research. So, and that's what our staff's here to do, is to support in the research. So I don't think that's a consideration. But because I need to understand.
Right.
And that happened the first time I brought it, I didn't understand. So I did my research. And I appreciate the staff that helped me on that.
Yeah.
What about anybody else's feelings, Dawn or Bill?
No, I don't know why the original development agreement said no basements.
Well, it didn't specify
It didn't
that
say
it
you
had
had
to
to have basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some reasons to that, one of which my father-in-law found out when he built his house pre-city.
Yeah.
Well, it was
There's
still
a
out in
water
the
table.
county.
Water table.
Yeah, he dug his basement in the morning When he came home from work, he filled it back in because it was full of water. And our neighbor to the south, who's 3 feet higher than we are in elevation, has had a sump pump the whole 60 years he's had the house, or the house has been there. So things like that can come up too, and we might not mention that in a development agreement, but you know, you can tell a developer you're not going to be able to dig a basement. You can try if you want, but keep the dirt handy. So,
And home builders in Utah, the only reason they would not do a basement is if there was a water issue.
yeah.
Because buyers want the basement.
When I've been told by contractors in the past that build homes, that the basement is the cheapest part, and then everything above that's more expensive, so they prefer the square footage in basements, but, and mine is not even negotiating what the 3 things or 5 things would be. It's setting the precedent to keep doing this over and
Yeah,
over and over.
If it keeps coming back to the council, it not only slows down the development, but it slows down the council and the city progressing all the way along. And so I would, once we get a development agreement, let's keep the agreement. Not renegotiate it every time we turn around.
I think the only reason I'd look to revisit, and I don't mind discussing it, is if it would make the city better. And this issue of ADUs is a sensitive topic, and if there's a way we can monitor that or reduce it, then I wouldn't mind discussing it. But and the developer may not want to make those concessions. I don't know. I wouldn't mind just having the discussion of this.
So I'm seeing 4 that are saying, no, let's not bring it back. Am I wrong?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for letting me discuss it. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I have an item.
Yes.
A resident came to our city council, I think it was last month, complaining about their neighbor, and they can't really turn them into code enforcement because the roads are private. And I think we should visit this. This person lives in a development that doesn't have an operating HOA. I mean, it's all the things that why we said no more private roads. Because they're stuck, right? The developer left them in a lurch and took the money and run. And so now they have to live next to neighbors whose house is a junkyard. And they're paying just as much in taxes as their neighbors that live on public roads. They have to take their garbage to the public road. They don't get it picked up in front of their house. They don't get their road plowed by the city. I think we don't want junkyard houses, even if they're on a private road. And as a city, can we do something to help that? Is it within our legal rights to do code enforcement on those roads? And should we, if that's possible, should we instruct staff to do that? That's just something I think that we should discuss.
So would you be good with having legal? I mean, maybe legal's ready to tell us in 5 minutes because
code.
Cameron's not here yet, right?
Happy to look into it.
Okay, and then give us a communication in 2 weeks.
Is that okay?
Yeah. That's what I would like. I'm okay with.
Sure.
Yeah, that works for me. I was hoping he was ready so that we can waste more time before Cameron gets
Mayor, I did have one item as well.
Okay.
I just wanted to remind the council that we have a special meeting scheduled next week. It's a joint session with the planning commission to discuss the kickoff of the general plan update with our consultants.
Okay.
It's at 4:30. We won't have a 6:30 meeting. It's just that 4:30 kind of discussion kickoff.
And so planning commission and us will be here together.
Yep, so we'll have a larger U. I don't know how many planning commission members are attending just yet.
Okay.
But the consultants are just ready to have that conversation to kind of kick off the process.
And so will the consultants basically be running the meeting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Along with Steve.
Okay.
And then I did want to just come back to the public comment. Eric actually had a good point that in our agenda language, it says the mayor, city council, or city staff may respond within the 30-minute period. So our ordinance says that any comments that the council has to be within that 30-minute time frame. And I had forgotten that because it's just standard language that we have on our agenda, but Eric, that is in our ordinance.
Okay.
So
I had it interpreted to me 3 different ways, so.
Yeah.
So if the public takes all 30 minutes, then we can't respond to anything.
That's the way it reads.
We should probably review that.
And I think it's a pretty simple, I think it's just in our ordinance, it would be a simple
Yeah, we can
minor
change the
ordinance change.
Just a little text
I think
change.
it's how you interpret it too, right?
Yeah.
You can either make a change or interpret it, because I don't interpret it that way either.
Yeah, I thought it was like that at first, because I read it every week, but then somebody said to me, council can speak after the 30 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
because that doesn't make
okay.
any sense that
Has to
Yeah,
all be
if it's
done.
hot
you
topics,
no
that
longer
takes
can
the whole
speak.
30
Right.
minutes.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, and
So-
it's still our meeting. We could, even after public comment, we could talk
You
about
can
whatever.
speak again.
Yeah.
Well, I will say the other thing that you're already limited by,
Yeah.
the other thing you're already limited by anyway, is like you can't discuss items that aren't on the agenda. You
Right.
can't go off. So you have limitations that are already built in. I wouldn't suggest you add more limitations.
Right. Yeah, because if we can't get off and start talking about things not on the agenda because the public hasn't been made aware that we're going to talk about that.
Right.
So
Even if it's brought up in a public comment.
Okay, so if someone
Sure.
makes a public comment like this person that Lars is talking about, we couldn't comment on that.
We shouldn't have a discussion and make any decisions based on that.
But could you make a comment?
That's an Eric question. Comments concerning comments in the comment period.
It's in the comment period.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I would say if it's a comment, responding to a comment, that's safe as long as you're not saying, yeah, let's make that decision.
Yeah, not making
Yeah,
any
you
decision
can't-
or
you
vote.
can't have a discussion.
Yes.
Discussion.
To make a decision.
But
know at
Lars
one
can make a comment, I can make a comment about the same thing,
Right.
but we're not discussing it.
Not making like a decision on an item.
I know at one point Mayor Bigelow actually summed up the public comment by saying, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one will be on our agenda
For
in the future. agenda."
communication, yeah.
So,
Can any of us do that? Add it to an agenda?
Just
Or write down-
recommend.
Yeah,
have it
we
on
can
the
recommend it, and if
communication.
there's 4 no's, we can all add something, right?
And then I could just add it as a communication item on the next study meeting for discussion.
Okay. So any council reports?
Yeah, I've just been going to trainings galore. Cameron was in one on Saturday. I went to Budget and Finance 101. Even though I'm an accountant, I've never done governmental accounting, and it's different. It is, yes, thanks, Jonathan. So I did that one, then I did the Conflict Competence 101, and today I did Utah Legislature 100.
Sweet.
I'm becoming educated.
All kinds of educators. Okay. I don't see any other council reports, so we will go back to our communication item and turn the time to Mr. Johnson. And welcome Mr. Diddle here.
Thank you for moving around some of that schedule. We were all on cam watch for the last little bit. He was racing up from Orem, so we're glad he could be here. And I'm going to turn the time over to him in just a minute. It's an exciting time of year. Next week, the legislative session starts, and I know we all can't get enough of it. The session runs from January 20th to March 6th, and I found some interesting numbers. I want to see how we are doing in quizzes and our understanding of the legislature. How many representatives do we have at the state legislature? Any ideas
West Valley
from the
City?
House? No, just from the House total.
Oh, not West Valley.
For all the House.
75.
Okay, Lars, you are a ringer. Well done. It is 75. And they represent on average about 30,000 residents throughout the state. The Republican, it's a supermajority at 59 to 16. I'm hoping these numbers are right, Cam. In Senate, any idea on how many senators we have in the state of Utah? Okay, Lars, you got to hold it in for just a minute. We got to give people a chance. Any thoughts? It is 29. And the Republicans hold a majority at 22 to 6 to 1. And that one senator is one that is representing West Valley City. And we had a chance to meet with her, with the mayor and EFO this past week. It's Senator Emily Buss, who is replacing Daniel Thatcher. She is part of the Forward Party, which is the first time they've ever had a senator or a legislator up at the House, up at the Capitol.
Well, Daniel wasn't.
He switched after the session last year. Yep. So she would be the first to be in the actual session. Yep. Couple interesting notes. There are no term limits. I think we all knew that. The longest serving legislator was Haven Barlow, who served for 42 years. I did not know that. He passed away when he was 100, but he had left the Capitol a few years previous to that. And that's the longest running male. The longest running female is stepping down this year, and that's Carol Spackman Moss. Going up to the Capitol this year, we are going to rely a lot on the League of Cities, which we appreciate Cameron being there. We do have some of our lobbyists. We have Dave Stewart, who has been with us for several decades. He will be representing us up there as a lobbyist. And we have hired Mike Deaver, who's going to focus more on the Maverick Center and how we can help funding for the Olympics and for the Maverick Center. So he will be up there as well. We have federal side as well. That's Ron Hamm and Shirley Spendell, who support us on that end. This year, it's going to be heated. But first, before we get into that, I want to bring up Cam Dill and have him talk a little bit about the work he does.
Thank you for the introduction. And Mayor, thank you for having me, and EFO and City Council. It's great to be back with you. And it was great to see you on Saturday in our conflict confidence training. And every time I do one of those trainings, I learn more and more. And so thank you for joining us for those newly elected trainings. Yes, the session is coming. This will be my 18th session at the Capitol. And Councilmember Christensen, you've been at almost all of them now, which is pretty awesome. We engage with the legislature through three primary principles: respect, collaboration, and outcomes. We want the legislature to respect our role as cities as we respect their role as state leaders. We want to collaborate and work together, or co-labor, as we learned on Saturday in our training. And then we want to focus on outcomes that ensure the quality of life of our collective constituents. Because at the end of the day, legislators represent the residents of West Valley City, just like you represent them. You'll hear a couple of key slogans from us throughout the session if you haven't heard them before: one size fits all, and partnership, not preemption. And the good news is, over the last few years, we've seen more and more legislators who have recognized the value of those principles and really have engaged with local government more in a spirit of partnership. And I hope that will continue in this coming session. We'll be tracking more than 200 bills, and very much excited to have Sam on board in this role. And we'll be chatting regularly throughout the session, every day, sometimes every hour, because that's how it works. And he and I sat down last month for a while to strategize and make sure that we knew the priorities for West Valley City, and then make sure we were as integrated as possible going forward. The big ticket items are always land use and revenue and public safety. The big ticket topics never changed, the specifics do. And so, Mayor, I'm happy to take whatever questions that you or the others have about property tax, or about public safety, or about land use, or anything else that's on your mind before the madness officially starts next week.
Anybody have any questions?
there was some talk about taking away zoning
Yes.
rights of the city.
Mhm.
Are there bills
Mhm.
aimed that way this year?
Yes. Yes. Now I need to caveat that by saying, even going back to the Mayor Nordfeld days, there have been bills to take away zoning from cities, right? So just the fact that there is a bill doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get 38 votes in the House and 15 in the Senate. Governor Cox has made some pretty profound statements about city zoning, some of which have been disappointing. The ones that didn't get reported from that particular story, just in the defense of the governor, his presentation was actually about infrastructure funding and how cities and the state and builders can work together to prioritize state infrastructure dollars to unlock housing units that cities are planning for, and the builders are willing to build units that are affordable and owner occupied. So in his defense, his presentation was on that. And then he responded to a reporter's question about preemption, and that was what the story was. So he did say it, and it is concerning. And there are legislators who do view cities as the problem when it comes to housing. And then there are other legislators. In fact, I was talking to one of them 3 hours ago, and I was on my way to meet with cities in Utah County earlier today, who basically acknowledge cities have zoned for and entitled lots of housing units that aren't getting built, and that's outside of our control. And so they recognized that, and they said, what, if anything, can the state do to help unlock those housing units? So long story long, I think, yes, there certainly are legislators in that space. There are state leaders in that space. I also think there are a decent number of state legislators who want to work with the development community and with cities to prioritize home ownership, prioritize sustainable infrastructure, prioritize affordability, prioritize quality of life. And those are the league board principles in this space too.
So do you think the 5% limit on raising property taxes is going to come back to bite the legislature if it gets passed? Because personally, the meetings I've been in since that was announced, everybody's like, okay, we'll just do 5% every year instead of only what they actually need.
Sure.
Until there's a bigger need that comes with either a big company coming in that you have to raise taxes, be able to do the infrastructure. I mean, there's always all these different factors, and I really think it's kind of nonsense to cap it because everybody's just going to do it every year.
For those who are unaware of what the mayor is referencing, is there are multiple bills in the property tax space, more bills on property tax this year than I've ever seen. And there's more angst about property tax at the Capitol than I've ever seen. And like I said, I've been doing this for a while. And part of that is national. You are seeing bills in states across the country that would limit the ability of cities to impose property taxes. So our neighbor to the northeast, for example, in Wyoming, their legislature last year reduced property taxes across the board by 25%. The state of Wyoming collects $0 from property tax. So they basically cut everybody else's taxes, took credit for it publicly, and then left the cities and the districts and the counties to figure out what to do with a 25% property tax cut. In the state of Florida, there's real discussion about eliminating property tax altogether. So unfortunately, this is a national conversation. So the bill that the mayor is referencing is one of several in the property tax space. And this bill would redefine new growth in a way that is quite concerning. So actually at LPC yesterday, we asked some homework assignments, and I think this bill would have some impact on West Valley because you've got quite a few TIF projects. So hopefully you can help us gather information about what that definitional change to new growth would mean for the city. But then there's this proposal to cap the amount you can raise property tax by 5% in any given year. So any taxing entity can outraise property tax by more than 5%. Now, West Valley, throughout my career, has always been really proactive when it comes to property tax. And Mary, when you were on the council before, like that, on a pretty regular basis, you guys do a little bit at a time. Well, I do think there is a concern out there, and some legislators have expressed this, that if you can never do the big project, that then every year everybody's going to raise property taxes, and then have you now inadvertently incentivized increasing property taxes more regularly. The flip side to that is that increasing property tax little by little on a regular basis does help the city keep the buying power constant so you can pay for the services and infrastructure you need. So there are trade-offs to that. We did survey the Legislative Policy Committee yesterday on that bill. There was a lot of concern. We recommended a position pending because we want to gather a little more data, particularly about that definition of new growth before we recommend a position, and the session hasn't started yet. So but I anticipate that the league members will take a strong position on that when the session starts, but that day is not yet today. There are other proposals that would require voter approval for property tax increases, and we've seen that in other states, like in Colorado. There's another proposal, and this is an interesting one, that would change the residential property tax exemption. So right now, for your primary residential property, you only pay on 55% of your value. Everybody else, commercial, industrial, second homes, they pay on a full 100%. The proposal would decrease how much you pay, what percentage you pay on your assessed value of your property from 55% to 40%. But the proposal also contemplates trying to keep taxing entities revenue neutral. So in other words, if West Valley got $1 million in property tax last year, you would still get $1 million next year, but your primary residential property taxpayers would pay a lower percentage and the others would pay a higher percentage.
So are they saying they're going to increase the tax rate on the businesses and those who are not residential?
That's the idea, is you're basically shifting the property tax. So wouldn't it be new revenue or a decrease in revenue? At least the proposal as of right now said if West Valley got $1 million last year, you'd still get $1 million this year. But instead of the home buyer or homeowners paying, for conversation purposes, $400,000 and everybody else is paying $600,000, that homeowner piece would drop to say $330,000, and then the others would pay, now I'm doing math on the fly, $670,000. I should have picked simpler numbers, but you get the point that it's that shift. And the reason for this was an audit that the legislative fiscal analyst did that came out this past fall, came out in October, which didn't recommend changing the 55%, but highlighted that in certain counties, Salt Lake County is actually not one of them, but in certain counties like Davis County, over the last few years, you've actually seen a shift to residential property owners, primary residential property owners, paying a greater percentage of the overall property tax bill. So this is one potential mechanism to respond to that audit finding. We did not take a position on that one yet either. We did ask cities, give us feedback about what that would mean in your cities. And I think it'll be an interesting policy question for us to grapple with over the next few weeks, that if it's revenue neutral and they change the composition of the tax base, do we take a position on that or not? I can tell you right now, the business community is very concerned about the bill for obvious reasons. So we need to take that into account. Meanwhile, the pro-housing stakeholders saying this is a way that we could bring down housing costs because they'll be paying a little less property tax. So lots of interesting policy questions we'll need to answer over the next few weeks. And then there's another property tax bill that we've been working on. We were initially trying to change the truth in taxation timing. And so, Jim, I'm looking at you, all the years you've gone through the budget process and truth in taxation. In an ideal world, we would do that truth in taxation hearing in May and not in August, right? It would be nice. It would be great. Can't be done. That we spent a couple of months working with different stakeholders to see if we could accelerate the process with the counties and the tax commission. So if West Valley decided to go through truth in taxation, you would hold that hearing in May or June instead of August, and the timing just doesn't work. But the conversation is still, do you require a hearing in May or June so that the public has the ability to know and to speak about the proposed property tax increase before the new budget has already started in that August hearing? So those are just four. There are other property tax bills out there, but this will be the year of property tax. Where it all shakes out is still up in the air. And then there'll be a lot in the land use space, a lot in the public safety space, a lot in the constitutional space. It'll be, as always, a busy year.
Thank you, Cameron.
I think one of the things I learned about Cam is he has that phone connected to him at all times. And it's something I'm very appreciative. When we got back into being one of the member cities of the Utah League of Cities, I'm very thankful for it because they do their work and they're very good and they're very fast. I sent Cam a text last week. I sent the text and I swear he called me 2 seconds later and talked me through everything. And that was always very helpful. I fully plan on texting him about 1 a.m. one of these nights just to see if I get a response. I bet you will. So as we hit this year, I know in the past that we've done a bill tracker here for West Valley City. I am happy to continue to do that. It may not be as robust as previous years, but I am happy to do it. I have talked to EPO and Nicole, and I think we'll be doing these legislative updates every other week for every council meeting. We'll do a little update, and I will plan on that. But if you all want a bill tracker that I can kind of highlight the main West Valley City ones, I'm happy to do that. I just kind of wanted to leave it up to you if you want that, like it's been done in the past, if that's been helpful.
So the league does ask on occasions for some reach out to your legislators. And so somehow we need to communicate that to council members if they need to get on the phone. I'll know because of the league meetings I go to, what the homework is, who to talk to. But somehow we need to have a network that the council members can reach out as well, even if it's a text to your legislators. They don't always have time to answer phone calls, but they can usually read a text and you can say, good job, or what are you thinking? Please don't vote yes for that. I mean, we've tried to keep a good relationship with all of our legislators so that if we do have an issue, last year we went and called them out of their sessions, talked to them about an issue, and they went and voted as the city and the league wanted. And so it's been very helpful to be able to do that, but just to get that information out.
That sounds great. And I'll work with Cam to make sure that we're getting any of those concerns. And Nicole sent me a list of our current legislators, which I have as well. I will update that so that we can get it all to you as council members so that whenever you want to reach out, you're welcome to, but we'll sound that alarm and that horn as needed as we go forward too.
Because we don't want to bug them and abuse it, but when it's needed, it has been very helpful to hit them hard.
And I found the city tracker. Cameron puts out a tracker with 200 plus bills on it.
Yes.
And I don't always know, they'll refer to them one way in one meeting and another way in another meeting, and I don't realize you're talking about the same bill even.
Gotcha.
Well, the bills are always changing too.
Yeah. So if the city comes out with, these are the ones that we're following, it makes it easier for me as a council member to say, okay, I'll zero on this one and kind of not skip all the others that the league is doing, but give
Got to
them
focus on
enough
ours.
time.
You got it. Yeah, I can definitely do that and have that available before council meeting every time we have a council meeting.
Yeah, for me, the bill tracker in the past is too much information.
Yeah.
And we just need summaries on the most important, impactful bills, really.
Brandon has a big brain and he put down a lot on those bill trackers. So I'll condense it and get, but ones that greatly affect West Valley City, I'll make sure we have that for you.
Okay, thank you.
So Mayor, my last comment is I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your membership in the league. Really, the strength of the league is the membership. And when we all work together and we have a unified voice to capital, we can do really great things. And there are lots of big issues, but I really value the West Valley voice. So Steve, what was it, 3 hours ago now? The three of us were on a call with all of the other cities that have homeless resource centers, discussing strategy as we go into the session. And so I'm grateful to have your voice in it. And I'm grateful that you share the expertise of you as elected officials, but also of your staff. They're extremely valuable in helping the city cause in general. So thank you. And here we go. Buckle up.
Do your girls have the link
paper
chain made?
They will be making it this weekend.
Awesome. They know when he's going to come home again, when they're out of little links to.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Myself and Sam. That's all they have for voting. Anybody can come to LPC that wants to. Right? Yep. And you can zoom in and yeah. So you can be as involved as you would like to. Yeah. So, okay, I think we've hit everything. We don't have a need for a closed session. So we just have one more motion.